Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Phil Dimitriadis. So I'm going to show you really quick. This is what you should be doing our next phase in the character design class. So what I did really fast in Photoshop here, I threw up 3 really rough silhouette shapes. Let's say from last week's assignment, you went through and you picked 3 silhouette shapes that best fit your character. Okay. What you want to do is you want to place them on the side. I told you sometimes I like doing pure black, sometimes I don't. I like mine a little bit more on the gray side so I can see if I have any rough line underneath. What you want to do is take those designs, copy and paste them, okay, and move them over to the right hand side. And this is what they're going to look like when you first put them down. What you want to do after this is we want to take them and we want to lighten them down with opacity. We could do the same principle in the Sketchbook Pro. Okay, it isn't just in this software in Photoshop. We can also do the same principle with the layer settings in the Sketchbook. I personally like Sketchbook still for sketching out my characters. But look, we want to have that variant. We want to be able to see the silhouette like this. What we're going to do next is we're going to come back with another layer and we're just going to start sketching on top. Okay, so it's really that simple. So this would be just the turtle page. So you're going to have 3 different pages, and I'm giving you an extra day on this project now, so you can do a little bit more if you want. If you want to do 2 pages on the turtles, go for it. This is all about pushing your shapes and learning how to have fun. So what do I mean by that exactly, about pushing my shapes? Well, let's take a look here. I did this silhouette super quick. It took about 10 seconds. What I'm going to do is come over here now. I'm going to sketch on top of this. So what I like to do is I like to look at my character and try to figure out what happens if I take part of his head shape. What happens if I squash it back like so? What if I take the neck and I give the neck a really thin approach and then go down to a thick line, okay, like so? What if he has a jaw that's really wide? What if that jaw comes all the way down to the bottom like this, okay? What if I end up cutting off part of his face like this? Sometimes I do some of these in silhouette, like a side view, and it is a turtle. Sometimes I turn them a little bit. Right now I'm just sort of having fun. I'm exploring my shapes, trying to figure out what's going to work. So look at this turtle shape right now. Look at the back right here. Maybe instead of coming like right in the middle, there's some symmetry there where that curve is. Maybe I'm going to push the curve a little bit closer to here, and then I'm going to sort of round it off like this and slant it back a little bit, okay? And around my edge, let's say I decide to put a foot coming out here. Let's say I have another foot that's over here. Maybe I have another foot in the back. Let's say I have a little bit of a tail right here. Okay? All right. That's my first one. I'm going to come back to that and put a little bit more detail on them. I just did a pass. What I'm looking for when I like to draw is I'm trying to get you guys used to understanding how to squash and stretch shape. Because what happens a lot of times is that you will choose to do something and you have to be, your first choice isn't the best. So you have to be forced to do something you wouldn't normally do or to think out of the box. And when you do that, you come up with a whole different design. Okay, so watch. I did that guy. So now I'm going to come over here and look at this silhouette, and maybe let's try something opposite of what we just did before. So this time I'm going to start up here with the head ball. Maybe instead of doing the neck from thin to thick, I'm going to go opposite. So maybe I'm going to go really wide here on the neck and come down to a thin line like this. See that? So I got thinner, it's a lot thicker. And then maybe right now, I sort of like this shape of the head just sort of wrapping over. And maybe he has, since I went thick to thin, look at that. I've given him a little bit of an underbite where like his jaw's sort of protruding forward a little bit. Okay? So maybe I just sort of wrap him up. Maybe his face ends about here and he has this underbite sort of like this. Okay? And now the shell. Let me see if I could do something totally opposite on the shell. All right, so I bring him downwards like so. I come over here and I take a look. Let me see if I had this symmetry. You see that? I put the center line about there. I shifted the axes over. So maybe I'm going to go in the opposite direction this time. Maybe I'm going to shift that shell axis over to here. Okay, and then I'm going to make that the high point of the shell, right about in here, and then I'm going to bring this downward like so, and then slant this at an angle like this. Okay, wrap it up. Look at the feet right here. Maybe I'm going to give him super wide feet this time. So maybe here's sort of a center line right in here that comes down. Maybe he's got a foot that lands about right here, and maybe his feet are literally like that wide. Okay, so sort of matches his underbite a little bit. Come over here, I'm going to make that foot about yay wide, right there. Okay, so I come back, I look in the back, maybe I have that other foot back in here, like so. Maybe he's got a little nubby tail right in here. Okay, then I'll come back and I'll dress that. But do you see what's happened so far? I now have two different variants off of the same silhouette that I liked, right? That's the goal, is just squashing and pushing. I mean, I look back at this, and what I tend to do, let me finish the third one. I tend to look at all three, and then I come back and I play with them again, and I sort of take another pass. So this time, I like that. Let's start here with the head ball. And I like that feeling of this going down really thick and getting really small in here. In fact, maybe he has a little bit of like a goiter. So maybe it comes down here, and there's a little bit of skin there and a little bit of skin here, and it wraps up, okay? Then I'm going to take this shape here, and let me just take a look at what I can do. Maybe what if I slant this forward a little bit and cap a little bit of his nose and put him in like this? Maybe he has sort of a hide face. Put another little eye over there, okay? So now what I've done is I kept the wide neck, but I widened the head ball. I put big eyes on him. Let me do the opposite in the shell. Instead of going high with the shell, what if I go a little bit lower? What if I cap the shell about right here right now? Okay? So if I cap the shell about here, and what if I stretch it out this way? Maybe the shell comes down, maybe part of it wraps here, and then it comes over here and it wraps over the back like that. Okay? So now I'm going to come over, let's put the feet in. So maybe his feet, same principle, maybe they go thick to thin. So I'm going to come over here, measure this distance sort of on the other side, make sure I'm getting about that same distance, the thick to thin. Okay. All right, and then let's come back here, and maybe he's got a little tail. It's coming out like this. And then the same thing back here, really thick to very thin. Okay, you see how I did that? I'm having fun with the drawing. I'm not getting over complicated right now. You should all have these brushes. I handed these brushes out to you guys. That's my standard little Photoshop sketch brush. It looks like this when it's larger. Okay, see that? All right, but when I shrink it down and get really small with it, it really acts like a nice pencil. Okay, it's the only brush that I found that's pretty close to mimicking the brush inside Sketchbook Pro. Okay, so look, see what's happened there? That's what you should have. Those are your three favorite silhouettes. If you didn't have three favorite silhouettes, you're supposed to go back. Some of you guys went a little abstract with your silhouettes. You're supposed to go back and define them over the weekend. Okay, so that's my first pass. Now look at what I have. I have three different variations of that character. So now I can go back in there and start adding some more information. So what's more information that I might want to play with? Well, let's come back in here. Let me take this guy right here. Let's take a look. Let me take a look at what his eyes are doing. What if he has one eye that's like really large? And what if he has, heck, let's give him three eyes. Maybe he's got another eye sort of in the middle, and then he's got another eye on the other side here. Okay, why not? So you just sort of have fun with it. I come over here. I'm going to put a little eye in there, sketch that one. Let's come over here. Maybe he's got an offset eye that's here. Okay. And maybe I come back over on this side. He's got another eye that's in here. You have to think out of the box. There. Okay. So now he's got three eyes that are different. Maybe he's got a little bit of hair in the middle. I don't know. I'm just having fun with him, right? Maybe this jaw needs to come down and end, so I sort of don't like that line in there. I can erase it a little bit now, and now I can figure out how do I want to construct my character. Maybe he has this sort of long jaw that comes down, overlaps, and connects back in here. Maybe he's got a couple teeth that sort of ride a little bit higher. Okay, and I can come back, I can blacken them in a little bit. Okay. There's no guaranteed answer. This is part of the exploration process. I'm just looking at part of the shapes. I might, let's say I round this up in here. Maybe I round them up a little bit more. Add a little bit more of like a gordy there, let's say. Okay. So I come back sometimes, I adjust a couple of my lines. I see what's working. I don't like that tangency right there. So I'm going to erase part of that. Okay. Maybe I didn't give him a nostril or anything, so I'm going to come in here, give him a little bit of a nostril in there. There. Okay, so that's good with the head. I come back in. Maybe I decide to put some nails on him. Maybe he has like one large, nasty looking toenail that sort of protrudes outward a little bit like this. And he has two small ones, let's say. Okay, then I come back over here. I do something in the back as well. And then come back here. Then I address the shell. Well, what else can I address? Well, if I haven't done any real textures or anything, so think of something. Look at reference. Maybe I wrap part of this with a line right now coming over. In fact, let's just say I'm going to wrap him up, make him look like he's some weird looking turtle. So what I like to do a lot of times is wrap over textures and detail onto. Now look at the distance between these. If I make them all the same, it's going to look boring, right? So I need to think about having some offset variation there. So if I do this exact distance from here and put the next one right in there, it's not going to look right. So maybe this next one, I go really far out to here and overlap. And then maybe it comes down and gets really tight in here and sort of pinches and then comes back up here. So that's a much further distance, and then this is a little bit tighter over here. Just constantly thinking about how can I push, squash, and stretch shape. How do I add to my silhouette? Okay, so now I'm going to come in here and I just do this. It's a great exercise. Those of you that had me in the digital drawing class, one of the things we talked about was adding different types of textures onto surfaces. One way we did that was we did these little square boxes that look like this. Okay, and we went from dark to light. So we talked about taking circle patterns like this and having lots of circles, and then as we get out a little bit more, we can get the circles a little bit smaller and they free up a little bit. So bear with me for a minute. Let me just finish this box. So you see what I'm doing right here? Right now I'm getting all these little circles in here, and I get that pattern of going dark to light. Okay, we talked about that in digital sketching. What's another little pattern that I could do if I wanted to? Well, I could have, what's really common is cross hatching. That's a real typical pattern. The thing I don't like with cross hatching is if you get too many angular lines in the wrong place, it'll flatten out your object, because what that means is that you have to have the hatching matching the flow and the circumference of the object. So if I do decide to come in here and cross hatch, I want to make sure that I thicken and thin it out, so when I get further away it gets much lighter and lighter. So that's just two. That's just circle and cross hatch. There's stipple, there's other odd shapes, there's square patterns, all these different things. So I could come in here right now and start addressing. I might think of like, hey, there's lots of these little circles all around this guy, and I'm going to break it up. I'm not going to put them everywhere. I'm going to put them only in certain little spots. Okay? Like so. Okay? So texture him up a little bit. Boom. Then I come over here to this guy. I start looking at him, and maybe I feel like, hey, I really like that idea of his jaw. Maybe it needs to come out even a little bit further. What if I bring it out a little bit more? Okay, what if I erase a little bit? Maybe he's got a big nasty tooth there, and maybe that's like the center line to part of his jaw. Maybe he's got another little tooth up in here. Okay, let's figure out part of his eye shape. Maybe he has little beady eyes like that. Okay, that's it. Quick little pass. When I go to the next one, I just keep working on it. Okay, so in the end, this is what you want. We started here with the silhouette. We have a rough. We have another rough. We have another variation. Okay, by the end of this page, okay, you should have yourself 9 different variations of that particular character. Then guess what we're going to do? Then we're going to pick 1 or 2 of those and do variants of those and have fun with them. This is how you really push yourself and get used to squashing and stretching shape, pushing and pulling shapes, and get yourself out of that box. And that box that we're all in, because trust me, I do it all the time. I sit down to draw or design, and the first thing I put on the paper looks like crap. And it's not the right approach. So you have to sort of retrain yourself to sit there and then go through these different variations. You come up with a much better design at the end of the day. If you're doing your turtle and every single turtle looks the same, you have to be willing to sort of talk to yourself, catch yourself in what you're doing, and then make that apply your skill sets to change them and make them look different. You have to teach yourself how to think outside of the box. You have to teach yourself how to think about coming up with new solutions. So I'll just throw a couple things at you because this is stuff that I do all the time. Squash and stretch the eyes. Add multiple eyes. Put a hat on the character. Okay. Pull the shell in different formats. What's the difference between a turtle that looks like he came out of lava rocks on a Hawaiian beach? What's the difference between a turtle that looks like he lived in the ocean and he's covered with kelp and stuff all around his shell? I mentioned before about maybe there's a creature or two that lives on a shell that's a little friend. Maybe he's got a little butterfly that follows him around. So I can come back here, and if I want to, I can sketch in, oops, sorry. I could come back in here and I could sketch in like a little butterfly guy that's sitting on the back of his shell. Maybe he's got a couple that follow him around. Maybe he's got a bunch of gnats. Okay. Have fun with it. Just keep trading it up. Keep pushing your designs. If there hits a point where you're locked in, take a break, and then come back with a fresh set of eyes, look at your designs, and figure out how to push it even further. Okay. You know what's funny is that all this comes back to, like I said, I mentioned this before. I was really lucky. Maybe I didn't tell you guys in this class. I was really lucky to work with this wonderful animator named Phil Mendez. Okay, really talented guy. And one of the things that Phil used to talk about is, I used to ask him, like, how do you, he would just come up with these characters and he would nail them down. And I said, how come I don't see you doing variations in different pages? You know what his answer was? I spent years and years and years in a sketchbook and drawing and roughing out different shapes where it becomes habit, it becomes second nature, where you get down to where you start to draw and you're automatically pushing and squashing the shape because you know what's going to look like a standard design. You should not have a standard design. You should not end up with this design right here at all. That's where we start from. We go way down the line and end up with something else, okay? All right, so with that said and done, I'm going to end the demo right here. Keep drawing, keep having fun, and just push it, you know? Every one of your shapes, I mean, if you do this page and you feel like, hey, I really like this guy right here and I want to do more of him, then put on another page. This is the bare minimum I'm asking you to do, and I'm giving you that extra day, right? You know, can you put props on your character? Absolutely. Can you put a jacket? Can you put funky glasses? Maybe he's, you know, a buddy of mine I grew up with, Victor, right? He had Coke bottle glasses ever since he was a kid, like big, giant, thick Coke bottle glasses, super thick because he could barely see. So maybe this guy has like these huge glasses and this small little nose, okay? Maybe he has a problem when he eats and he always has something dripping from his chin. Whatever you want to do, just add that in and have fun with the design, okay? All right, so that's basically it. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recorder, and then I'll walk around and answer any questions.